In just his second game as an NBA player, Chet Holmgren blocked 7 shots, anchoring OKC's defense as they shocked the Cavs with a late comeback. And what stood out to me about this game wasn't just Chet's incredible block totals, but the many different tools he put on display that make him such an incredible defensive talent. Standing 7'1" with an impressive 7'6" wingspan, Chet's large frame allows him to shut off the rim in a way that not many can replicate, like on this play in transition when Evan Mobley takes it right at him and looks to finish over the top. Instead of going vertical, he's gonna jump backwards to avoid making contact while still using his length to attack the ball, meaning that he can still block the shot without risking a foul. He has a great eye for recognizing threats and rotating down to protect the basket, meaning that pretty much every single time a Cavs player applied some downhill pressure, there he was, always in the right spot to save easy buckets. Because he eats up so much space with that length, when he is sliding over to help, he doesn't have to overcommit. You can see that here when Isaac Okoro beats a closeout. Chet doesn't have to rotate all the way to the opposite block and meet that attack early, instead staying attached to his man until the very last moment, then taking off vertically. And even though Okoro adjusts his shot, he's able to track it and erase it. In addition to the size, he moves with incredible fluidity, so even on a play like this where he does overcommit to the ball, actually leaving his feet, as soon as it's dumped off to Mobley, he's swiveling his hips in midair, so that when he lands he's perfectly squared in between his man and the basket. Then he jumps a second time, and that's the type of stuff you see from Defensive Player of the Year candidates. As a result, you're going to see a lot of plays this season where offensive players choose to not test him at all, and this sort of rim deterrence won't show up on a traditional stat sheet anywhere, but it can completely change the dynamic of an offense, taking away the most efficient shots on the court and turning them into tougher ones. I think this play in transition showcases that deterrence pretty well, because even though it's just a one-on-one, Okoro has to think about how he's going to score on Chet, and he's so focused on the finish that he loses his handle, and it's a turnover on what typically ends in 2 points. One more point I want to make on the rim protection is that when all of Chet's physical tools come together, he's capable of covering multiple threats at once, meaning that he can alter an entire team's ability to generate offense in the paint. On a play like this where his man is camped out in the dunker spot, he's able to stay attached, taking away any opportunity at a dump off or lob. And it's not until LeVert leaves his feet and commits to a finish that Chet slides over and takes off, again jumping backwards while tracking the ball with that length. Because Chet can cover multiple threats like this, he's incredible at playing drop coverage against screening action. Max Strus doesn't have an angle to the rim because he's waiting in the middle, and when it's shoveled over to Mobley, he's in position to take that away as well, completely smothering an attempt to float it over the top. When dropping back, he's great at showing to the ball and making his presence known as a deterrent before recovering to his man like this, and this is a really big deal because it enables the Thunder to keep these ball screens a 2 versus 2. The main idea behind running a pick and roll is that when the point of attack defender gets hit by a screen, some sort of extra defensive rotation behind the play is required, creating an advantage. But with Chet up near the 3-point line in a high drop, not only showing his body on a potential Mitchell drive, but also shutting off any chance at a lob to Mobley, the rest of the defense is able to stay home, and with no available outlet, that causes a turnover in crunch time. When needed, he can even play a more aggressive coverage, so it's not like he's limited to drop. This was arguably the biggest defensive play of the night, getting the ball out of Mitchell's hands while still recovering to Mobley in a timely manner. He then takes a hard bump to the chest that makes him lose his balance, but quickly regathers his footing so that he can meet Mobley at the apex of his dunk attempt. On the floor it was called a foul, but with a challenge and further review, it was overturned into Chet's 7th block of the night. Those types of plays are made possible by his mobility. Pairing these movements with that size is what makes him such a mesmerizing defensive talent. Here's one where he's out in space when Mitchell turns on the jets, and not only does he move with enough agility to beat him to the paint, but also absorbs contact and makes it a really tough angle. Unfortunately, nobody rotated down to keep Mobley from putting it back in though. The exact same thing actually happened again earlier in the game. In transition, Chet picks up Donovan, beats him to the spot, takes that bump to the chest and keeps his arms high, but someone else has got to help the helper in these situations. Not only does Chet's mobility allow him to quickly rotate down to the paint and turn away threats, but also the inverse, rotate out to the perimeter to cover shooters on closeouts. This play really stood out to me, closing out to a shooter in the corner and running him off the line, but instead of staying out of the play, continuing to follow the ball on a drive-in kick, baseline to baseline as he closes out on another wing, which leads to another drive-in kick, this time switching back down to Mobley as the defense scrambles to near perfection. Throughout this entire game, I only noticed one true flaw in Chet's defense that needs some work, and that's the fact that he seemed to bite on every single up fake. This isn't uncommon from a young rim protector by any means. Discipline and knowing when to stay on your feet comes with time, so I wouldn't be too worried about it at all. So you've got a high-level rim protector who can execute different coverages, eat up space all over the court, and he'll also close possessions with his defensive rebounding. He had a few really nice contested rebounds against Cleveland's crash of the offensive glass, which is important because in most of OKC's lineups, he's the only real big, and as we all know, good defense only matters if you can secure possession of the ball after the fact. These rebounds also set up the opportunity for Chet to grab and quickly initiate the offense, and I know the focus of this video is on his defense, but I just have to at least mention some of what he does on the other end. Too much talent not to. Let me know down in the comments how many 7'1" players throughout NBA history are capable of isolating from the corner against a Defensive Player of the Year finalist, throwing a tween, hezzy, cross into a drive, and drawing a foul in the paint. Now, can any of those guys you thought of also spot up above the break and knock down threes like a shooting guard? Chet's combination of advanced ball handling and outside shooting makes him lethal when trailing the offense, because he demands a closeout and even against a defensive-minded wing has no problem putting it on the deck and driving his way into a layup. But if that closeout doesn't come quick enough, then you get a play like this, down 3 with 1 minute left in the game, and he's stepping into a transition 3 from up top to tie it up at 102. Chet Holmgren's talent on both ends of the floor doesn't even make sense at times. A legit 7-footer with length, who can shoot, handle, and pass on offense, but is even better defensively because of the way he protects the rim with the mobility to run all types of different coverages, schemes, or even positions. So don't be surprised if his two-way play continues to make an immediate impact on a Thunder team that looks awesome to start the season. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of Chet. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.